Assalamu alaikum and my greetings to everyone watching. I am Danin Sharjeel Khan, a graded student and the host of today's episode. I hope you're all doing great. Well, it's my privilege and honor to introduce you to our today's guest. He is Dr. Riaz Qureshi. Mr. Qureshi is a renowned tourism academician and professional. He possesses vast experience and knowledge in this industry. He has done his master's degree and PhD degree in tourism administration from HNB Grewal Central University. His specializations are destination planning and development and also tours and travels operation. So without any further delay, let's start the conversation. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you, sir?
My pleasure, fine.
Can you please walk us through your life a little bit more?
Okay, myself, as you said, Riaz Qureshi. I belong to this very area. I'm from a small hamlet, namely Sampura, just 5 kilometers from the main town, Sopo. And presently I am working as a faculty member, as a teacher in the University of Kashmir. I am the student of tourism, teaching tourism at University of Kashmir.
Okay, sir. So tourism, I believe it means a social or economical occurrence in which people travel to outside their environment for personal or this professional things.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes. So talking about tourism, it is in fact the moment of people from one place to another place, especially outside their normal place of residence or workplace for leisure, for recreation, or for various aspects. Because when we are talking about the purpose of tourism, it is not mere leisure and recreation. People visit other places for pilgrimage. People visit for other places for special medical treatment. People visit for other places for even business. And the moment of the people and the purposes, the motives, they are increasing day by day. People visit other places for physical relaxation. They just want to experience others' culture, others' tradition, or they visit their friends and relatives. So people have their families in other continents or in other regions. So it is a very multidimensional industry where the motives of people are different. Depends on an individual's taste. That there are some people who visit Kashmir for, say, adventure. At the same time, there are people who just want to visit place Kashmir for leisure or recreation, or they visit the religious places. So the motives are different, but definitely it involved movement of people from one place to another place to fulfill their motive for a specific period of time and then returning back to their normal place of residence. Yes.
So about tourism, what are your observations about it, and where are we heading?
So of course, when I will just concentrate in the local context, not at the global context. Talking about Kashmir, Kashmir is a known tourist destination. When we talk about tourism, I always use to say Kashmir is rather synonym to tourism. Whenever we talk about, especially in the South Asian content, and nature has bestowed us with innumerable natural resources. Almighty has been kind enough, so we have natural resources, and which has been one of the main reason for attracting people. Or we have rich cultural heritage, and we have enjoyed tourism since ages. But of course, being a very ecologically, environmentally, and also culturally fragile tourist destination, so it need to be properly planned and developed. Then only we can say what we used to say, the sustainable development. Because when we are going for the mass tourism, what we are experiencing, unfortunately, because when we are talking about Kashmir, it is a landlocked area, and we don't have other means of earning the livelihood. We don't have industries. We don't have a good private corporate sector. So it is a very comparably small geographical area with a fragile ecology and environment, and definitely the tourism here is very viable, has a tremendous potential. But of course, it's supposed to be developed in a very planned manner so that we can save our ecology, our environment. Otherwise, it can be vice versa. It can be detrimental. And what we are experiencing at the primary tourist destination, the unplanned development has taken toll of the ecology, the environment, the deforestation, and of course the negative impacts on the culture and tradition.
Yes,
that is it.
So, in your opinion, what is the JK tourism department?
Of course, when we are talking about any country or about any state, or we have versus the union territory, we have a proper setup. At the national level, we have the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, or Department of the Tourism at national level. At the state level or union territory level, we have the Department of Tourism, Government of J&K, which is having the primary responsibility of looking after the tourism resources, their development, their planning, management, marketing. One of the very negative factor, unfortunately, which is there, that although we had been in tourism since ages, but we don't have a proper tourism policy. Ours is the only state in our country which is without, although we had enjoyed tourism since ages and we were supposed to be the role model, but we don't have a proper policy. Policy used to be a framework that what are the do's and don'ts, and that too when we are talking about Kashmir, which is ecologically very fragile, we are supposed to have the strict rules and regulations. The government is making efforts, of course. You know, the number of the tourist destination has increased. Now tourism is not confined to Gulmarg, Pahalgam and Srinagar. Department of Tourism, Government of J&K is making efforts with the support of the central ministry for exploring the possibility of developing the secondary tourist destinations. We have example of Bangas, we have example of Gurace, we have example of Doodh Patri, and so many destinations. They are making efforts, but it is not possible without the active support of the local community, the host community, and that too when we have other reasons also, because being an ecologically, environmentally fragile destination and also politically fragile, because political stability is the prerequisite for the development of tourism. And of course it is not only the government, but it is the responsibility of the host community to join hands with the government, and whatever efforts the government is making, that can be successful only when we are supporting them. So Department of the Tourism, Government of J&K, within their available resources are trying their level best to protect our ecology, our environment, go for sustainable development, build the basic infrastructure. And but what is there, that it is not only the Department of the Tourism, Government of J&K which can develop tourism. So tourism is a multidimensional industry where we have other sectors. Say tourism is not possible without accessibility. So when we are talking about accessibility, the transportation, communication, it is the domain of Ministry of Transport. When we are talking about the facilities and services, say we have electric facility is basic requirement, water supply is basic requirement, amenities are basic requirement. So they are the domain of other ministries. So tourism is multidimensional industry, and of course the tourism department is playing the big brother's role, but the efforts they are making can be successful only when we have the close coordination with other ministries and departments, and of course the host community, which are the real beneficiary of tourism.
Yes, sir. Yes. So I was just curious about this. Whenever we mention tourism, there's an orthodox saying that it boosts the economy of an area.
Of course.
So how is it boosting the economy of an area, and what about the natural resources that we are losing because of it?
Of course. So when a very good question, because we are living in that part of the world which what we say that although we have resources, but we say it is an underdeveloped, or it is a developing economy.
Yes.
So in a developing economy, the main concentration is more on economic development. So when we are talking about tourism, it is playing an important role in the economic development by generating revenue. So the more tourists we have, the more spendings they will be. So it generates employment, because you know tourism, when we talk about tourism, so it is not possible without amenities, without facilities, without services. So there is a huge chunk of the population, huge chunk of the human resource which gets involved. So when we talk about tourism, it is playing an important role in employment generation, and the people who are getting employed are more getting employed indirectly than directly. When we are talking about J&K, it is not only that the people who are employed in the Department of Tourism or the Tourism Development Corporation or in other departments, but more people who are involved indirectly, because if a duration of the stay of a tourist increases, there is a more demand for rice, there is more demand for fruits, there is more demand for vegetables, there is more demand for handicraft items. So indirectly the host community gets benefit. So definitely tourism is playing an important role in economic development by way of generating employment, by way of generating revenue, by way of generating foreign exchange, which is very important, which is prerequisite for development at the international level. And you know, the credit goes to the tourism that the basic infrastructure which is developed, what we say when we talk about the infrastructure in tourism, we say we have what is called the tourist oriented infrastructure and we have the resident oriented. We have an example of the tourist destinations of Gulmarg or Pahalgam. You know, had there been no tourism, what would have been there?
Yes,
so they are well connected, they have good facilities and services as compared to that. So the connectivity is boosting economy. So we can't think of economic development unless and until we talk about connectivity. And in tourism, connectivity is prerequisite. We can't reach any destination unless and until we are well connected. We have communication, we have mobility, we have transportation. So talking, what was your question is what role tourism is playing in economic development? You know, the prerequisite for tourism development is infrastructure development. And when we have infrastructure, when we have good connectivity, when we have good airline connectivity, we get connected with rest of the world. When we have good connectivity, train connectivity, we get connected with our country. You know, India is a very big country, or a vast geographical area. So one of the obstacle in the development of tourism here is that being a geographically landlocked area, we are not well connected. But definitely when we will be connected, so it will boost the economy. And then another aspect is there, what you said, which we unfortunately neglect, is that when we are talking about tourism development, it is having both positive as well as the negative impact. And the unfortunate part is that man is so selfish, we ignore the negative impacts. So tourism is having more negative impacts than the positive impacts, and that too at that place which is very fragile, as the case of Kashmir, has a very fragile ecology and environment, have a very limited tourist carrying capacity. So definitely there is a need of what is called the sustainable development. So here tourism is taken as one of the tool for economic development, but we should not ignore that if it is not properly planned, developed and managed, it can deteriorate the ecology, it can be detrimental to the fragile ecology and environment, also to the culture and to the tradition. So tourism is having both the positive and negative impacts, but definitely if we want to develop tourism, what we say the sustainable development, so in such a way that we should sustain, because when we are talking about the attributes of any destination, be it is their culture, tradition, religion, rituals, customs, or be the resources. So if we save these resources, if we safeguard these resources, we can sustain. We can think of tourism. So it is not only that we have to get the benefits from Gulmarg, from Pahalgam, for Dal, but we have to our generation, but we have to think about the future generation also. So tourism is playing an important role in economic development, but we have to go for such a development which can sustain, so that our future generations can also take the benefit of tourism.
Yes. Would you please like to elaborate the 4 C's of tourism, which are?
Of course, when we are talking about the 4 C's of tourism, so it is so where we have the concept of ecotourism. So when we have the concept of ecotourism, that means the tourism which is eco-friendly, which safeguards the tourism resources, local ecology, local environment, local community. So in the 4 C's, we have the very good principles. That the very first thing is conservation. So every destination is having its attributes. It has something to offer, because when tourist is visiting any destination, he wants to experience something new, something different, something unique, something extraordinary. So people from different parts of the world are coming to Kashmir. They just want to experience our water resources. They want to experience our forest resources. They want to experience our flora and fauna. So the first and the foremost thing for continuance in the tourism sector is that we conserve these resources. Once we conserve our natural resources, our cultural resources, our traditional resources, our art, our handicraft, our architecture, then only we can think of tourism will continue. So conservation is very important, because tourists would love to visit those areas which are neat, which are clean, where they can experience. So conservation, and after conservation, the very important thing is that of what we call the community. Ultimately, it is the host community which is supposed to be get benefited. If we are not involving the local community, so how come they will support? So it is a natural phenomena that man is selfish. He says that what I am getting, okay, I will not go for deforestation. I will come, but I will be getting. So when we are talking about tourism, so there is more leakage. The money goes outside. So the travel agents, the tour operators, they are outsiders. The suppliers are outsiders. The products we are offering, they are coming from outside. But definitely we are supposed, when we say ecotourism, that we are talking about the local community, host community. Say, if we are developing Gulmarg as a tourist destination, are the people in the vicinity of Gulmarg getting benefited from tourism or not? So after conservation, there is the more involvement of the community. So say whatever the main power is there, say that as we are in the university, we are going for the human resource development. Let we have the people from the host community whom we train, so that they can cater the demand of the visiting people. And definitely, once they will earn, once they will say that tourism is contributing to their economic development, to their livelihood creation, so definitely they will support. So after conservation, there is community. And then very important thing is the culture.
Yes.
So as of now, right now, we don't have the people who are just want to experience the local ecology and environment, but they want to experience culture. So one of the basic travel mode to use is that people are traveling other destinations, other areas, just to experience their culture. We talk about Kashmir, we have a rich cultural heritage. We have a history of more than 5,000 years. So people from different parts of the world have been visiting to Kashmir since ages. So even when Kashmir was not connected with the rest of the world, today we have airport, we have more than 100 flights a day during the peak tourist season. We have the National Highway 44. Now, mashallah, it has been maintained in such a way that it is just 4 or 5 hours journey from Srinagar to Jammu. But you know that unless and until we are not preserving our culture, our tradition, our rituals, our lifestyle, a very new concept is coming up. Although the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, come up in the year 2003 with the concept of the rural tourism. So what is there? So people want to visit the rural areas. People from the urban areas or people from the developed world are visiting the rural areas to experience the culture, the tradition. So one of the 4 C's, what we say, is conservation, it is the community, it is the culture. And then once we have this in a very systematic manner, then we can think of the commerce. We can think about the trade. So we talk about Sopo, it is an apple tower. So we have the people, we have the merchants, we have the buyers who are coming from different parts of not only the country but different parts of the world. So it is only possible when we have good infrastructure, when we have good facilities, when we have good services. Then tourism will be an add-on. They are coming to Sopo Mandi and just go for the buying fruits, but definitely they will visit the surrounding areas. They will experience the culture, the tradition, the pilgrimage resources, the natural resources. This is how when we take consideration of all the 4 C's, so then only we can think of what is called the sustainable development or eco development.
Sir, earlier on you mentioned that tourism has bad effects. So in your opinion, what are major bad effects of tourism?
Of course, what I told you, that when we are talking about tourism, it is having both the positive as well as the negative impacts. And when we are talking about the positive impacts, we told it is employment generation, revenue generation, foreign exchange earnings. And not only that, but in present day's world, when you say there is disturbance everywhere, what will you say? The Zahrul Fasad fil Barri wal Bahr. So at such a time, tourism is playing a very important role in bridging the communities. It is playing an important role in what is called the national and international understanding. But at the same time, when we are talking about the mass tourism, so mass tourism leads to the environmental imbalances, environmental degradation. You talk about negative impacts of tourism, for the sake of tourism development, we go for deforestation. We construct roads, we construct airports, we construct a railway network. You say Kashmir is a seismological zone 5. So in seismological zone 5, we have to be we have to go for very sustainable development. We have to keep in mind the seismology. We have to keep in mind the geographical components. So, but in tourism, we neglect this. We go for deforestation. We have good example of Gulmarg and Pahalgam, which have been converted from natural jungles into concrete jungles. We talk about our Dal Lake, which was separated over a vast geographical area, and now it has shrunk, and the quality of water has deteriorated. We have the example of the Vulur, which is just in the vicinity. We are on the banks. Here in Sopor are on the banks of the Vulur. It was once separated over an area of just 206 kilometers, and now it has shrunk. So that is one aspect, the impact of tourism on the ecology. Then when we talk about environment, you say the cultural environment. So when we have the tourists who are coming from different parts of the world, they have their own culture, they have their own tradition, they have their own dress code, then we copy that culture, we copy that. So the very negative impacts are that we become habitual of drinking, we become habitual of taking drugs, we we forget our own culture, our tradition, our customs. Say, I'm very much disturbed by the way Kashmiri architecture is getting changed. So our houses are representing the culture and tradition of Rajasthan and other things. Hai na? So we have our own culture. See, when we go through our religious places, be it Sarashri, be it Khankahi Mohalla, so we use, be it Jama Masjid, we use have our own culture. But the present day, we say it is quite different. So this is all because of the negative impact of tourism when we copy other communities, other countries. I mean the tourist generating areas. And of course, these negative cultural impacts are supposed to be immediately addressed, because the tourists are coming here to experience our culture, our tradition, our rituals. So if we are developing our own society in such a way that it is representing that European culture or that culture where from tourists are coming, so what for tourists want to come here? They want to experience something new, something different.
We lose our uniqueness.
We need, and once we lose our uniqueness, so why tourists would come here?
Yes, yes. So previously, I believe you mentioned the term sustainable development 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
So what is the sustainable development?
In fact, sustainable development, it has become the buzzword. You will find everywhere sustainable ecotourism. But unfortunately, we are not doing it practically. What is in mentioned in the Holy Quran, lima taquluna ma la tafalun. So we should say that which we can do. So when we are talking about sustainable development, that is developing any sort of economic activity whatsoever it will be, and of course tourism is an example, in such a way that the basic resources on which tourism is dependent are not depleted or degraded. We talk about Gulmarg. So Kashmir is known all over the world for because of Gulmarg or because of our natural resources. But if we are developing tourism in such a way, we are degrading or deteriorating the very ecology and environment. So it cannot sustain. So sustainable development is that development that we are keeping in mind the carrying capacity. So it is not the mass tourism concept. We will be allowing only a limited number of tourists to visit any area, and that number which cannot deteriorate the local ecology, local environment. So there is a resentment against tourism because we have the concept of mass tourism. People are suffering. There is overcrowd. There is congestion. So they are against. They say that we are the local habitants and we don't get the place for parking our vehicles, or we don't move from one place to another place. So sustainable concept is that which can sustain. So let only limited number of the tourists visit any destination, or whatever infrastructure is, it is as per the demand, as per the carrying capacity. It is not that we go for mass exodus of the local habitation, or we go for deforestation behind it.
Sir, you mentioned the eco-tourism.
Yeah.
So what are the initiatives that the government is taking for the eco-sensitive areas?
Of course. When we are talking about ecotourism, so actually ecotourism is which is eco-friendly. That is, the tourists who are visiting any particular destination, they are respecting the local culture, they are respecting the local tradition, they are respecting the local ecology, they are respecting the local environment. Here it is going vice versa. You will see the use of polythene everywhere. We don't have the dress code. I remember just few years before I was in Malaysia, there is a newly developed town that is called Putrajaya. So in the Putrajaya, I visited a masjid in the vicinity of the presidential house, where I could see that the tourism officials were providing some literature, and they say that if you are entering in this masjid, so there are do's and don'ts. So if you are not covering your whole body, you will not be allowed. You have to use the abaya type of a pattern and then go over. So there is a code of conduct. In ecotourism, there is a code of conduct that you are visiting any destination, so you have to safeguard that destination. I remember I was in Kenya and I visited a national park where I was surprised to know from the managers that thousands of tourists are visiting those national parks, but I could not see a small wrap or what we say any polythene there.
Okay. So you said that it's vice versa here. People are, just throwing trash everywhere. Why is it so? And how can the people contribute to the development of tourism?
Of course, what I could see as a student of tourism in context of Kashmir is that people are not, we lack awareness. We need awareness about the value of our environmental resources, the cultural resources, and how we can safeguard is that once we have the do's and don'ts. So although on papers it is a polythene-free zone, but we are using more polythene, and which is what we say in the ecologically fragile areas, which is what the term we are using, it is non-biodegradable. You know? So in an ecologically sensitive area, we should go for the traditional activities. We should not use polythene. We have a very good example of Ladakh, although it is a colder desert. I have seen the people of Ladakh very committed towards the environmental conservation. So they are collecting the polythene. If they are, I was there, and the cab driver was collecting the trash, and he bring it from Pangong to the Leh, and then there is a dumping site where there is a proper solid waste management. Unfortunately, we don't have here the proper solid waste management, and it's not only the government, but it is the responsibility of the local community to contribute, because ultimately this is our planet. We have to safeguard it.
So can you please enlighten us with some like scope in tourism? What is the scope in tourism, and how can a person, a student, achieve career in this field?
Of course, what I told you that tourism as of now is one of the world's fastest growing industry, playing an important role in employment generation, and globally it has been seen that it is contributing more than 10% to the global employment generation. And talking about a place like Jammu and Kashmir, you know that we have a huge potential for tourism development. We have huge resources, and so far tourism had remained confined to the traditional destination. So if we are opting, tourism is a very new subject, and there is a huge scope for what we say for employment or career opportunities. So we have destinations where we are different, what we say the A's of tourism. So once there is an attraction, we have scope in airliners. So in Kashmir now the number of the airliners is increasing. We are getting connected with railways. There is a huge construction of the hotels, resorts, motels, restaurants, recreational centers, and the facilities and services. So it is a multidimensional industry where the service providers are huge, but definitely we need professionally trained people who are having the professional know-how, knowledge and training. So once it is there, and as of now, you know, there is a mushrooming of the luxurious hotels and facility centers in Kashmir, but most of the main power is from outside. So once we have the professionally trained people here, so there is a huge scope for employment, both national at local level, national level, and at international level.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
So what about the career opportunities?
So there are career opportunities in the tourism sector, in the hospitality sector, in airliners. You know, the number of the destinations are increasing here, and there is a more demand for the people in the government sector, be it when we talk about tourism department, there is an expansion of the network. It is not only confined to the traditional destination. There is an increase, or there is a diversification of hotel sector, hospitality sector, and there is a huge demand for manpower. What I told you, in most of the luxurious hotels are the amenity centers in Kashmir. We have the manpower which is from outside, because in Kashmir tourism as an academic activity is a very new concept. So there is a huge demand, but definitely if although government has taken initiatives, now that subject is being introduced at the school level, at the higher secondary level, at the college level, and mashallah in universities, be it in our university, we have the master's program in tourism, be it Central University of Kashmir, be it Baba Ghulam Shah Pacha University, be it Jammu, Central University Jammu and Central University of Kashmir. And we have the students from Kashmir who are pursuing education from outside state and outside country. So this is only because there is a huge demand, and it's not only at the local level, it is at the national level, at an international level. So it is a course which is having international recognition and international demand. And definitely people who are well versed in the travel trade and tourism, so they have the demand at the international level.
Okay, sir.
So, yes, sir.
So any last message for our viewers watching?
My message to the viewers, especially the people from my hometown to Sopo, is that we have ample resources. We have natural resources. We have a number of the areas. We have Volur, we have Watla, we have Rampur, Rajpur, we have higher reaches of Rafiabad. We have Ningali recreational facility and services which we lack, although we have tremendous potential in our area.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us
Welcome.
today.
My
it was
pleasure.
a pleasurable experience.
My pleasure here also.
And for more such episodes, keep on watching the Welkin Talk Show. Thank you.